A mysterious, worn-out cassette tape was discovered one day. On it was a recording of an interview between a Kuwaiti journalist and the band's lead singer, a woman named Nora. From this interview, we learn how the singer and her band received a strange phone call, offering them a job to perform in a quiet town on the outskirts. As it turns out, the event they attended was actually a Djinn wedding, and the entire invitation was a sinister trap. And that is the infamous 1997 Djinn wedding incident story plot in general. Although the details of this story seem far too intricate to be fabricated, the truth is that this tale is an eerie blend of fact and fiction. So let's carefully dissect which parts of this mysterious event actually happened and which are purely fictional. Starting with the main character of this story, Nora is indeed real. This is Noura Rabi Ismail Ali, one of the most famous folk singers in the Gulf at the time. Although the story never explicitly mentions which Noura it was referring to, she's the first person that comes to mind for anyone who hears this tale. Nora, born in 1950, inherited her love for folk art from her mother, the folk artist Sanaa. She joined her mother's band from a young age. She later formed her own band after her mother retired. Her performances achieved remarkable success and immense fame in the early 1990s, performing at numerous weddings and exclusive events for princes and wealthy individuals across the Gulf states. Given her prominence, it wouldn't be surprising if she had indeed been invited to an extravagant wedding event similar to the one described in the story. Interestingly, Nora's career path matches the details of the story as well, especially when she decided to retire abruptly around the same time the story supposedly took place. This further deepened public belief that the tale might indeed be about her. Now, about the house. In the story, it appeared to be a lavish mansion lit up with decorations and filled with guests, but in reality, it was an abandoned building. And yes, this house truly exists.
أحس في ناس ساكنين فوق هنود شيء.
It's located in the Sabahia area, about 32 kilometers south of Kuwait City, the same location mentioned in the tale. Just like any abandoned house, it's rumored to be inhabited by supernatural beings. In this case, a family of Djinn. However, the existence of such a house shouldn't come as a surprise. Nearly every city in the world has at least one or two abandoned homes, shrouded in ghost stories and local legends. As for the Djinn wedding itself, this is where the line between reality and myth begins to blur.
بدر عبد العزيز المطيري الغني عن التعريف. السلام عليكم ابو عبد العزيز.
عليك السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته. هلا ابو طلال، كيف حالك؟
يعطيك العافية، شلونك؟ طيب.
تقبل لطاعتك اول شيء.
منه ومنك، صالح الاعمال.
كل عام وانتم بخير ان شاء الله.
ابو عبد العزيز، من متى كنت مدير تحرير مجلة الجريمة؟
يعني بعد صدورها يمكن 4 سنوات 5 سنوات كذي.
زين ابو عبد العزيز،
أنا أطول فترة استلمت فيها تقريبا، بس كنت فيها مؤسس، أنا الوحيد اللي مؤسس فيها من العدد رقم 1.
ما شاء الله.
What you just heard is a recording of an interview between two men, Abu Talal and Badr Abdulaziz. Both of them claim to have worked for a local magazine called Al Jarima, or The Crime in English. One important thing to know is that Al Jarima was the very first magazine to publish the Djinn wedding story back in the late 1990s. And as you might have guessed, this interview holds the answers to all of our questions about the story, including its authenticity.
أبو عبد العزيز، تذكر خبر أو قصة اللي انذكرت في مجلة الجريمة في سنة 97 عن الطقاقة نورة؟ تذكر السالفة؟
العاملين في المجلة.
اي نعم صحيح، اي نعم. انا اتذكرت العدد اللي كان نازل فيه القصة، الطقاقة نورة اللي حضرت عرس
شوف ابو طلال، اول شيء لازم انا اقول لك اياه، احنا كنا نعتمد بالمجلة من الدرجة الاولى على شيء، على القضايا وعلى القصص المسموعة، عرفت ولا لا؟
صحيح.
ونعتمد على الاخبار، طبعا في اغلبيتها اخبار تكون حصرية واخبار تكون مرات يعني مو يعني مجرد متداولة تاريخيا ما لها مصدر، عرفت ولا لا؟
صحيح.
من ضمن هذه القضايا هذه القضية اللي يقول لك والله حضرت سوت حفل أو عرس، حضروا ناس رجولهم رجول خرفان وروس ما أدري شلون، يعني هذه شوف هي جت عن طريق النقل، عن طريق أحد المحررين الصحفيين اللي كانوا موجودين.
صحيح.
وياي هذه القصص باعتقادي الخاصة، أول شيء لازم تعرف هذه نوع من أنواع الخرافات كلها.
صحيح.
وإذا تذكر القصة حتى تحتها في أسفلها نكتب أنه ما يعتمد على المصدر، يعني أنه ترى إحنا مجرد ناس سمعناه ونقلناه.
This is it. We finally have the ultimate answer. The story of the Djinn wedding is a work of fiction, inspired by myth, an urban legend. Yet one mystery remains. Which urban legend gave birth to the tale of the Djinn wedding? And more importantly, could there be any truth hidden within it?
فهمت أنت سعيد لأني أحملك على كتفي، ولكن إلى أي...
When it comes to urban legends in the Middle East, it's important to understand that Arabic-speaking countries share a long and deep history of interaction between humans and jinn. Even in modern times, this belief remains deeply woven into the culture. One striking example is the 1985 film The Humans and the Jinns, which shows how the idea of jinn has shaped horror storytelling in Egyptian cinema. With this in mind, the urban legend behind the Djinn wedding story could have roots in any country across the region. Curiously, some believe that the Djinn wedding might have been inspired by an old episode from a Saudi Arabian comedy series called Abu al-Asafir. The episode, titled The Djinn Are Chasing Atoush, tells the story of Atoush, a man who watches a horror movie alone at home. Terrified by what he sees, his fear soon spirals into paranoia, convincing him that jinn are now following him. Strange misfortunes begin to unfold, one after another, leading to a turning point when his colleague's car breaks down in the middle of nowhere. With no other option, Atoush and his companion take shelter in a stranger's tent. Inside, they find a lively gathering, music, laughter, and a feast. Despite their discomfort, the host insists they stay, urging them to eat and enjoy the party. But as the night deepens, Atoush notices a horrifying detail. The feet of their hosts look alarmingly like those of a goat. Although certain elements of this story mirror the Djinn wedding legend, it still doesn't fully explain its origins. The story could have been born from fiction, or it might trace back to a real event that happened long ago, lost to history and never officially recorded. However, during an interview, Badr Abdulaziz offered a theory about where this chilling story may have come from, and his explanation makes a lot of sense.
هذا اللي كذا، فهمت كلامي؟
زين، انا مدام سالتك عن موضوع الطقاقه نوره، بسالك كذلك عن قصه بيت السالميه، بيت الجن.
هذا شوف، انا بقول لك على شيء، هذا يعني انا من الامور اللي عاصرتها يمكن بحياتي او شفتها. البيت المسكون والبيت المسكون والبيت المسكون والبيت المسكون. انا كنت واحد من الناس اللي، بس لا تضحك، دير بالك، ترى اقول حق اخوانك الكبار تضحك. زين، انا كنت اخاف امر يمه. زين،
اللي هو بيت السالميه ابو عبد العزيز. الازرق.
كنت اخاف امر يمه. لا، المصيبه اني اشتغلت نفس المنطقه وياي، وقمت اخاف امر يمه. كل ما جاوا الربع قلت لهم اوخر وارجع وتوش اياهم، مرات تنزل من السياره، عرفت ولا لا؟ اخاف يعني امر من هذا البيت نهائيا.
من كثر ما تسمع عنه تقصد يعني؟
اسمع عنه. لما سمعت قصته قمت اضحك على نفسي اول شيء، زين، واضحك على الناس اللي صدقوا قصته. ان هذا كانت معركه بين الدلالين، ان بيت موقعه كان ممتاز، وكان راعيه الله يرحمه، اعتقد انه توفى، انه ما كان راضي يبيعه. زين، ملتزم طبعا، بيت اهله او ترث او تاريخ لهم، عرفت، ما كان بيبيعه. فهم قاموا يسيرون عليه قصص، وقاموا يروون ينسجون عليه قصص.
That is one interesting theory from Badr Abdulaziz. He compares the Djinn wedding story to the tale of the haunted house in Salmiya, which turned out to be a fabricated ghost story used to drive down the property's value. This practice of spreading false ghost stories isn't new. It's quite common in Kuwait, and even in other parts of the world. Now that we know the Djinn wedding story is fictional, has Nora ever commented on it? It turns out she has. Many times.
سموها طقاقة نورة. حتى ان المطربة او الطقاقة نورة نفسها لما نزل الموضوع في المجلة اتصلت عليها، او احد من اهلها اتصل عليهم انه يقول ليش تقولون هالكلام؟ قالوا يبا هذا اول شيء قصة من وحي الخيال، قصة متناقلة تم نقلها من الناس وكذا، واحنا ما نصدق المصدر، لكن كقصة ننقلها للناس سواء كانت خيالية او غير خيالية. ثاني شيء، ما هو المقصود اصلا الطقاقة نورة؟ لا كانوا حاطين صورتها ولا قالوا انها الطقاقة نورة، ما حد ذكر هالمعلومة. ذكروا ان القصة حصلت مع طقاقة اسمها نورة. حتى ان لما قالت نورة ليش تقول شيء، قالوا يبا ما هالمقصود انت اصلا، واحنا لا حطينا صورتك ولا شيء. حتى ان الله يرحمه في صحفي مصري يحيى عبد الرحيم الله يرحمه، صحفي في جريدة الوطن، كان في جريدة في مجلة سابقة فنية، سوى معاه لقاء في سنة 2000-2001، وقالت له الموضوع ان هذا كذب ولفقوا علي وانا ما لي علاقة اصلا في هالموضوع.
Nora did clarify, made several statements, but by then the damage was already done. The fabricated story had already spread internationally, and even worse, it kept evolving, leaving behind countless versions of this fictional tale across the internet. We can only imagine how this false story became a real horror for Nora, her family, and her fans. All her hard work, all the masterpieces she created, only for her to be remembered as the one who allegedly interacted with a djinn. Even worse, she was portrayed as a singer who wandered alone through a client's house without permission, something considered extremely disrespectful in Middle Eastern culture. And yet, the story continued to spread, showing no signs of stopping, even decades after her death. Is this really the end? Is there truly not a single clue out there suggesting that the Djinn wedding story, perhaps from somewhere else, might be real? Or at the very least, more intriguing than it seems? But as we dug deeper into our research, we actually found something. While Nora's Djinn wedding story had no documentation, no media coverage, no witnesses, and even the main character, and the person who originally shared the story, admitted it wasn't true. This new story is different. It has witnesses. It was reported by the media. And the person at the center of it all claims, or rather insists, that it really happened. What makes it even more fascinating is that this Djinn wedding tale took place a decade later, and not in Kuwait or even in the Middle East. It happened far, far to the east, in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. And it all began with one strange Facebook message.